Whether you are a small ministry or a really large ministry, it won't be long before you're having conversations with a seeker and you need to have that conversation go to a different responder on your team. Echo gives you a bunch of different ways to do this. One of the easy ways is you can just transfer the conversation from you claiming the conversation, transferring it to another responder on your team. Another way you could do this is you can transfer to a team. So we call these permission sets, and you could transfer to a different permission set. So if you happen to be big enough, you've got a whole team of responders that specialize in a particular subject matter, well, you can just transfer to that team, and then everyone on that team sees it, and anyone on that team can then just claim the conversation and start the conversation with that person new. But there's another way that you can do things automatically, and that is with Echo filters. And we really call this persona-based routing, where you can route from an incoming conversation, read that conversation, see the details about it, and then assign that appropriately to a team member. So let me hop over into Echo, and I'm going to show you on this demo account exactly how we can set this up. Inside of filters, we have at the top level the ability to automatically detect what language this particular conversation is in. So as that message comes, whether it's an email or a WhatsApp message or a text or whatever way that conversation comes in, you can define those sources up at the top. These sources let us say, apply this set of filters to this set of sources. So a email domain that Echo is receiving emails from, that would be a source. Or a WhatsApp conversation, that WhatsApp phone number, that would be a source. All of these sources then will read the incoming message and detect what language it is. So in this case, I've gone ahead and created this English language. So that means if Echo detects that the message is in English, then apply the filters that we have listed here. Now, right now, I just have these three filters, one called emergency, one called depressed, and one called catch-all. And we're going to kind of define these a little more. As I click on this emergency, you'll see that I have the following things. I can name this, so I could call this demo emergency, or whatever name I'd like to give it. I can label this emergency, urgent, important, or just the default regular way of seeing it. And then inside this, I can see different key words. Now, these are words or partially built words that if Echo sees these words, it's going to determine that it should go to this particular filter. So for instance, if someone says suicide or kill myself or killing myself, those terrible messages, right? We want to really know when someone's saying that. So we could put those and many more in here. And if those are detected in that message as it's sent to Echo, it's going to automatically assign it these filtering characteristics. So something you'll notice here is this one says commit SUI, S-U-I, and it doesn't finish that off. And so the reason why is you don't really have to even write the full word. You can just write a partial part of the word, and as long as those letters are in sequence, anything that happens after that, it's going to go ahead and use that. The difference is if there's a space. So if you put a space in and start another word, at that point you're going to write out some amount of that second word as well. It doesn't have to be full. So like you can see, tired of live. I didn't have to write living. I could write tired of li, and that way if they said life or living, but then it would also have whatever other words. If they said tired of, I don't know, lithium, I don't know what the word would be, but if there was another word that has li, then it would also pick that up as well. Down below this, you can see that the language is grayed out, and that's grayed out because it needs to be, because we've already detected what language it is. Here we can say the source. So now we can say, well, even though I'm looking at all of these sources, inside these sources, maybe I want to just select a few. I can do that here. If they've indicated their gender, I can go in and select that here. So I could say if they are male and have listed at least one of these, what you see kind of in this pill shape, then that's going to be the match that it's going to take. You'll see other things like if they've indicated a religion, if they're from a specific country or a state or region, and kind of like all the address information. I can put any of that in here. And that works better for certain conversation types than others. Because of some of the restrictions that Facebook has put in place with their API, we can no longer really easily get things like their country information or their address information. So if you're primarily doing Facebook conversations, this additional segmentation down below, these settings of country and state and cities, that's not going to be useful to you because Facebook is not giving us that information about that particular user. The last thing you get to do is you get to assign it to a permission set. So for instance, in this case, I've got this permission set called demo chat. What this is simply going to do is if it contains at least one of these words and the gender is male, then assign it to this particular permission set. Think of permission sets as teams. It'll assign it to a specific team. So once I've done that, I maybe could make another one. Maybe I want to do one very similar to this, but make it female instead of male. Well, I can just clone this one, and I can get one more right here, and I can just go in and change that gender to female instead of male. And now I could set a different permission set of the team that could get that. Now you'll notice, or maybe you noticed, on that, I didn't hit save or update before when I added that gender in. So I'm going to just go back and do that and hit update. And that way that's actually saved. So the way this would work is now these are able to be dragged and sorted. So I could write this one emergency mail. And I'm going to also add that permission set because that also was not saved inside that. So let's go in and again, this is just an example. And then I have this other one, emergency female. I can write that in. And now what that's going to do is it's going to work through these starting from the top. Imagine like gravity of water. It's going to go in, it's going to find its language. It's then going to go in and see this first one. And so if someone said, I'm very sad, I want to die. So we want to know about that. If that happens, it's going to come in and they say that, but they are female. It's going to go to this first one. It's going to look through these keywords, and then it's going to look and see and gender. So does it have one of these words or phrases, and does it match this? So each one of these things that you specify, imagine you saying the word and. Inside each of these, imagine you say the word or. For instance, it has to contain one of these words or phrases, not all of them. So it needs to contain the word suicide or the word kill or the word kill myself or, right? It just needs to contain one of these words or phrases. And if it does, and the gender is male, then it'll assign it to this specific permission set. If it's all those things, but the gender is not male, it's female in this case, then it would go down to this next one where we have the same exact thing, only now it says female. Now we could clone this one more time and put this inside here, and I could do that simply by pressing this clone button. And then I could remove this gender. So it can be either gender listed, and I could just say just emergency as an example. And I could assign this to a third permission set. And so once I've done that, or maybe multiple permission sets, I could do that. And so now the way this would work is let's let that update. So now we have male, female, and then this one just says, does it contain at least one of these words? And as long as it contains one of these words in any gender, or no gender specified, whatever you have there, that's going to let that be anything. So now, whether they've said male or female or not specified, that's going to use this third filter. So it's first going to find male, and then female, and then emergency, just by itself. Now, lastly, I have this one that I've started called depressed, and I'm just going to write depression in this. And let's go ahead and assign it to a team. Here's this team that it's going to get assigned to. Now, if this depressed is at the top, then that means as it comes in, it's going to find English. It's going to, let me move this up here. It's going to then see this depressed item at the top, and that's going to take priority. So if this message says, I'm really sad, I'm depressed, I have depression, I'm thinking about suicide. Well, that contains the word suicide, but the way the filters work is they start at the top. It would go to this one, and it would say, oh, they said the word depression. That's the only criteria I have. Therefore, this is finished, and it will not continue down the filtering chain. However, if I had this depression down here below, and this person said they are thinking about, they say, I want to die, I have depression, I want to die. Well, it's going to stop. It's going to read this and say, oh, this one says this. Oh, they didn't indicate their gender, so it's not that one. It's not this one. But it will stop here, and it'll just say, I have depression, I want to die. And so it's going to pick up on that, and that's going to win, even though the one below it has depression. So you can arrange these in order, where the top important ones override the lower ones. And this is how you can route this directly to the user inside of Echo. So if you're looking for a way to automatically read those messages, detect the language, and then assign it to the right team member, this is the tool, filters, inside of Echo. And we call this persona-based routing, so that you can route the different personas that are coming in that you are trying to attract, that you have different people on your team equipped to answer. This is the perfect way to get so many of those to come in. Now, obviously, sometimes they're going to say things that aren't included in your list. So you have two options that you're going to do after that. One is you can continually update that filter. Go back and edit, continue to add more words and phrases and misspellings and partially words so that it'll go ahead and grab those. It's kind of a constant refining process as you see things come in that didn't get filtered correctly. And then part two, don't forget, you can always just transfer that conversation to another person, or you can transfer that conversation to a team, to a permission set, so that they can just go in and easily have that conversation and with that particular seeker. So we are pumped about filters. We think it solves so many problems. In fact, some ministries had full-time jobs where all they were doing was reading all the incoming messages, manually assigning it to a particular team member. Those days are over. So if that's you in the situation you're in, wow, congratulations. Using Echo is going to change all of that. It's going to automate that ability to have those messages read, determined where they are and where they need to go. And, you know, I didn't mention this, but even it'll detect just the language. So maybe you have mostly a concentrated response team in language A, I'll just say English. So you've got a strong English team, and then maybe you have a smaller Spanish team. Well, for that Spanish team, maybe they don't have as many people. Maybe that's a smaller piece of what you do. That's fine. You could just have a filter that just detects the language Spanish, and then anything it says, it doesn't really matter, assign it to everybody that's on your Spanish response team. So this is a great way to just very quickly and easily, just by language, segment things off. And this is also cool because maybe you have a campaign running on your primary language that you use, but you do have these other teams that are smaller in these other language sets. No problem. If somebody happens to come to you in that main campaign, even though you're only advertising for English people to see it and interact with it, but someone does send a message in Spanish, no big deal. In the past, maybe you had to assign the whole channel to a particular person. In this case, we'll just detect that it's Spanish, and then you can just have that automatically assigned to that team. So that's a great way of handling both language or specific languaging inside it, or if you're using certain conversation types, such as a form on a website or chat or email or something else where we can have some of those other data points, then we can even go in and route that geographically to the correct people. So if this is exciting to you and you're not already an Echo customer, we would love to talk with you. We'd love to have you on the platform. You can go to echoglobal.org, and just see right there where you can sign up for an account and get started. And if you have other questions, there's going to be a lot of ways you can contact us. We look forward to talking with you and making sure Echo is a great fit and working with you in your ministry. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and hopefully we'll be talking soon. Have a great day.